Today we're going to show you how to install the Proof Dashcam into your vehicle. We're going to start with all the components. We have the rear facing camera, GPS antenna, forward facing dash camera, extension wire, power harness. Alright, so we're going to clean the windshield for any debris or oil to make sure that the adhesive sticks well to the windshield. Okay, now that the windshield is clean, we're going to mock where our camera should go and make sure that there's no obstruction on the rear view mirror. Once we see that it's good, stick it down. Make sure the adhesive is on there good. Now we're ready to run our wire along the headliner up over here. Okay, now that the camera's stuck down, we can make all of our connections. So we're going to put the GPS antenna, make sure it's nice and tight. The power harness, make sure it's nice and tight, give it a little tug. And the rear view camera. Make sure it's nice and tight. Good connections. Now we're going to run these along the headliner. You won't even need any tools, just take your fingers, pry your headliner down, and tuck them in. We already removed the A-pillar, which will require some form of panel popper to pop this off. Usually they're just a couple pressure clips over here. Just give it a little tug, lift up, and that's that. Our next step is we're going to follow the factory wiring down the pillar. So we're going to go in here and zip tie this to the factory harness. Okay, so this is what it should look like. We zip tied our aftermarket harness to the factory harness, and when we install the GPS, make sure that the slack is bound with zip ties in a circle. You don't want to pinch them like this because it'll reduce the signal quality. So you make sure that they're in the perfect circle. We could tuck this now back down into here. And stick our GPS antenna down in the corner. All right, now that we got the pillar back on, we can prep our area for the GPS antenna to be mounted down. So we just clean with a little alcohol. Chuck our wire in, and that's all. GPS antenna is done. All right, so our next step is to find power. We're going to go directly to the fuse box and find a constant source that's on when the vehicle is off. So, which means when we test this fuse, it'll have power while the vehicle is off. And then we need another fuse that lets us know when the vehicle is turned on. So right now there's no power. Turn the key on, and now we have power. Turn the key off, power's off. So the dash cam comes with fuses that are already on the end, so that all you have to do is plug them in. Unfortunately, on this vehicle, this is not the case because these are different type fuses. So we're gonna have to cut these off and put on different adapters so that it fits inside of this fuse box. Okay, so we cut these off. These are the ATM fuses that come with the Proof Dashcam. We're going to cut those off, and we're now going to splice onto these with the ATM fuse, which is the bigger size fuse that fits inside of here. Okay, now that we replaced our ATM fuses with the ATC fuses, we're gonna go ahead and take out our fuses, and we have our yellow wire here, which is for our constant power, meaning when the vehicle is off, it still has power. Go ahead and pop that in. And our switched power which is the red wire over here. And we're gonna pop these in now. All right, so now we're just gonna make sure that all of our connections are tied up. We already zip tied our slack. We grounded our wire right here to the factory bolt. If you don't have a factory bolt here, you can always use a self tapper and drill into the metal, and that will give you your ground. So now that that's secure, those are in, make sure you give it a little push. We now have power to our proof camera. All right, so now that we have our power ran, we're gonna run our rear camera, and we're gonna tuck it in right into the headliner using this tool here. Over here. We're gonna point the camera over here. We're gonna show you, we're gonna do just like the headliner. We're gonna pull this down and we're gonna shove this into the rear headliner area using our panel popper. So just make sure everything is in good. And we're gonna follow that all the way through to the back. And we're gonna run up through this headliner here. Now in this particular vehicle, we had to take this piece off here, drop the headliner down and pull this down and run it through. Pop this off, come through the grommet there, and then run up power all the way up to here. We stuck the camera down on this pillar here. We cleaned the surface. Camera is facing out. So now when I close the door, camera's facing outwards to the rear of the vehicle.